Hello, Star Wars Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba, and we are anxiously getting ready for our trip aboard the Halcyon, the Galactic Star Cruiser that is down in Walt Disney World. And for those who are not aware, they have just recently announced that that will be ending, having their final voyage in September. Now, thankfully, we've had our cruise booked for months, for over a year actually. We actually booked it right when it first came out. We booked it for November of last year. Sadly, that got canceled because of the hurricane that came down. But there are, we were able to reschedule it for July. So now, though, with the later information that it's now ending, we have decided to really embrace the whole idea of it, and we've actually joined a bunch of Facebook social media groups all about the Halcyon, all about the Galactic Star Cruiser, everything from the different storylines, the different characters, costuming, everything. So we're really doing it up. So the next couple of episodes are going to be kind of bouncing back and forth between unboxings and also to talk, some prep work for it. One thing that came to be was that we started to learn that a lot of passengers on the Halcyon like to leave little gifts and little trinkets and things like that for other guests and for the cast members to thank them. And we've started working on that. I'm going to show you some of the things that we've been working on to present to guests and other members of the Halcyon crew in future episodes. But then another idea came out from my wife, Mrs. Darth Tuba, who was reading about something that happens on regular cruises that involves people leaving little duckies. And when I mean duckies, I mean these kind, little rubber duckies, and leaving them kind of hidden for people to find, kind of like a scavenger hunt, that type of thing. So we thought, I wonder if there was something that we could do with that. So first of all, I've learned that you can get bulk rubber duckies for very little money. They're like really, really cheap. And secondly, they kind of look like something else that we know. They do, right? Let me see if I don't have a lot of hands here. What do you think? Do a porg and a ducky, rubber ducky, kind of have a similar vibe? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. So we've decided that we're going to paint and set up some of these porgs as little rubber ducky or rubber porgies to give out to guests and crew members. So here we go. So these are the materials that we're using for this. Of course, we got the standard. We got some paints, apple barrel. I've been reading up and checking up on different websites. There are YouTube channels apparently devoted to painting rubber duckies, and apparently apple barrel is a good paint for it's like an acrylic, quick drying. It's not supposed to leave. It's supposed to kind of not chip away or flake off. So we'll try and see what happens. So this is going to, and of course we have some paintbrushes, some cups. I have two types of porgs here that I'm going to model after, the male and the female. Male has more brown and orange around the eyes. Female is more just gray and white. Obviously, they do not have the same facial features as a duck, but if we paint the whole thing white, we can kind of manipulate it to the way we want it. Got some markers to help draw up both the eyes and the mouth, and then I got some different color paints to cover the other stuff there. So this is going to be a couple of days for this to happen, folks, so we'll take a little bit at a time. Okay, so in doing all my ducks here, got all my ducks in a row. Generally speaking, it came out fine. You can see there's a little bit of, you know, a little touching up that might need to be done, which I will do. But most of them are fine. And again, as we said, we did some research and these all seem to work out okay. There is a little bit of chipping, but that's mainly because I got a little, you know, I was putting a little bit extra on the bottom, or sometimes I even was dipping them out. So I'll let those kind of happen and then just do a little bit of touching up. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of go through, just kind of rub these off here and, get that, it's okay if it chips off some of the excess, it's fine. And then I'll just kind of paint on the bottom and touch up and do that. And then the next thing I got to do, once I do that, okay, is I have to divide them up. I'm gonna have half male, half female. So this is let me see if I can pull this out a little bit. Here's our male porg, right? So you can see, obviously we're not gonna worry about the feet because it's gonna look more like this, right? So we're just gonna use the beak to do the mouth. Just basically, I don't even know if I'm gonna go red. I think I just might do like a little black mouth with 2 little dots to represent the nostrils. And on the back, you can see here, it's mostly brown on the far back side, right? So that's why I'm not going to worry about it if there's any chipping on the white. I'm just going to go with brown on the back and the sides, okay? Leaving the front part of it white, okay? Then there's a little bit of orange around the eyes. And then either with black paint or with a marker, I'm going to take care of the eyes. Now the female, okay, mostly the same. You have something to say? I think the batteries are running dead on this. Anyway, this is mostly same idea in the front, white. A little, instead of having orange around the eyes, it's pretty much still white around the eyes. So it'll basically just be white, and then a grayish, blackish, brown, a little bit of, probably gray with a little bit of brown and black highlights on the back. Okay, so and obviously, we're dealing with a duck here. So a duck and a porg don't have the exact same configuration. So we're going to have to do a little bit of playing around. But using Mr. Porg here and realizing that he's pretty much white on the front and then he's got his wings and the back is fully brown. This is the male porg. So for this little guy, I'm going to do kind of like that, and we'll try to put in his mouth. We're going to use the beak to be his mouth, black eyes, and some orange around it. So that'll be the plan for this guy. But we're going to have to do all the brown first. Okay, so there's about 25 of the brown porgs, the male porgs. And now for the female porg, I decided to do the same idea, but with gray. But what I did is I took a little bit of, if I find it here, there it is, appleberry country gray, and then I just dropped a little bit of black into the mix, and I just did a partial mix. Whoops, where did it go? There it is. I did just a partial mix. I didn't finish it. All right, in an effort to give it a little bit of streakiness. Okay, just a little bit. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but okay. Now we'll do these. Okay, so that is our first and second wave of painting. We'll let these things dry, and then we will try a little bit of orange around some of the eyes and some eyes themselves with some markers. Okay, so for the male porgs with the brown, I actually took a little orange paint. I actually put a little bit of brown in it just to darken it up. It was like a pumpkin orange and just seemed a little bright. So I lightened it up a little bit. And there I just kind of gave it a little bit of a touch up around what will be the eyes. Okay. And then to them I will do, with the gray porgs, I was actually able to already do this. I kind of added the eyes. I used a marker. I used some Sharpie markers. The only thing I'm finding is that they, sometimes when you use markers on anything but paper, they tend to dry out fast or they get like kind of weird. But it kind of had an unintentional but good side effect where you get those little reflections in the eyes, which is kind of really part of the porg idea. Then I put the little nostrils on it, and I just used the edge of the beak to traced it out to give the mouth. It still looks like a ducky. I mean, I'm not going to lie if it does. But I think for the male ones, once I get the eyes in there, I think it'll be really cool. So, all right. Okay, so after many hours of paints and repaints and paint over paints and all sorts, we went from 50 of these little guys to this. Oh my goodness, look at all this porg goodness. So we have our female porg, which is the grayish, and we just basically took a little marker and did a little bit of quick strokes back and forth, kind of traced out some wings just to kind of, show them they're kind of more vertical than they were originally on the duck imprint, And one of the things I did that I really liked, I think I mentioned earlier, if not, I used, since obviously Porgs don't have bills, I just kind of traced the mouth at the end of the bill, or the front of the bill, I should say, and put the two nostrils and the eyes with the little shiny reflection, and that kind of really achieved the same idea. Yes, the bill kind of sits out. I'm just going to pretend that all these porgs have very distinct chins. And then here we have our male porg, which definitely looks more the look of porg that we saw in the movies. Okay, and again, nice thing about these the apple barrel, I think I called it apple butter last time. The apple barrel paints is that you can squeeze them, and generally, well, there's a little bit of chipping, but that's mostly if there's just some dried paint, like caked up paint that falls off. Beyond that, it is in great shape. So I am really, really happy with these. And again, like I said, this will be something that we will take this and put the put a little guy in the middle there. We will take this and we'll put these little porgs around for people to find in little scavenger hunt areas on the Halcyon, because that's a very common thing to do among earthbound sea cruises. But for Halcyon, we're going to, we decided to take a little spin on it, and instead of doing the whole rubber ducky, you can do these. It took a little time, but it was not a very expensive ordeal. These, I think we got $9.99 with Amazon free shipping. We got the a pack of 50, which is pretty good. So these are incredibly cheap to get. And the paints didn't cost very much either. So it's a cool little project to do. Anybody going on the Halcyon, I highly recommend it. Great thing to maybe do with, and as I said, it was basically just paint the whole thing white. You could try doing spray paint as well on the white. I probably would recommend a primer first, but again, make sure you're using paints that will work on the plastic and it won't chip off if you squeeze them like this. The only thing I will say this, guys, I would not recommend putting these in the bathtub to float. I do think they'll float, but I think that the paint will eventually melt off. This is an acrylic water-based paint, very easy to work with, very easy to clean, but it will come off. You can possibly do a sealant, which I might consider doing. I'm not going to put it in the video if I did, but because I'm not going to get to it right away. But the only thing I don't like about most of the sealants I've looked up is that they are essentially gloss sealants, and I don't want these to be glossy. I kind of prefer them like this. I feel like if they kind of look real here. I mean, they don't really look real, I know, but they have a more real tint to them versus when you put gloss on them, then they're going to look like, ceramic porgs, which I don't want to do that either. So, all right. So that will do it for this episode, this pre-Halcyon episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I cannot believe it's about 3 weeks and counting. Of course, I've been hearing weather reports, and there's like some tropical systems brewing in the Orlando area. I'm like, oh no, not again. But I'm just gonna be positive. I'm gonna be real positive and hope that everything works out. So anyway, right now, but we are preparing. This is a great thing to do, great little project. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, may the toys and the Force and the Porgs be with you.